Hello friends, welcome to the Land of Kakiak. My name is Laurel. Are you ready to finish our elementary McGuffey Readers Base Language Arts program discussion? Okay, let's get into it. So I'm just going to show you where I keep my plan here, my binder. So we are on to Language Arts Level 5 and we are in the 4th reader. Let's start off with reading. Let's explore the 4th reader a little bit. So this is, I'm thinking 5th, this might even be going into 6th grade, even 7th grade. You guys are going at your own pace with these books. If you extend out past elementary, that's totally fine. If you're using these with the Robinson Curriculum reading list, you get to them when you get to them. Don't be too hung up on the K through 5 or K through 6 or whatever label, because these are actually getting pretty advanced by the 4th reader. You might even want to take a break between the 3rd reader and the 4th reader. Like take a break over the summer and just read more independently, or go do some read alouds together before you get to the 4th book, and because they get really independent here, and it's really nice to have it for the school year. Okay, McGuffey's 4th Eclectic Reader, the Revised Edition. So this one, let's just go over the punctuation marks that they are mentioning here. Again, the hyphen, comma, period, interrogation point, exclamation point, quotation marks, apostrophe, curves, we would call those parentheses, brackets, dash, ellipsis, brace, diaeresis, section, index, paragraph, and the caret. And they like to give a little example down here. They're showing a caret, showing that you should have inserted another N in this word manner, right? They inserted her for her modesty and virtue. So go over those if you want to, make a fresh batch of grammar flashcards. It's a good kind of warm up to do at the beginning of starting a new book. Articulation. These are called elementary sounds. So, of course, articulation is the utterance of the elementary sounds of a language and their combinations. And when they mean elementary sounds, I think we would call those, phonemes, like the smallest unit of sound in a language. Like I, e, t, An elementary sound is a simple, distinct sound made by the organs of speech. And they're divided into vocals, subvocals, and aspirates. So vocals are those sounds which consist of pure tone only. They are the most prominent elements of speech. A diphthong is a union of two vocals, commencing with one and ending with the others. Subvocals are those sounds. So I would think that they're talking about vowels. That sounds like vowels to me. Subvocals are those sounds in which the vocalized breath is more or less obstructed. Think of like a S sound, like S, right? Your teeth are closed and it's obstructing the airway flowing from your mouth. Aspirates consist of breath only, modified by the vocal organs, like an H sound, like ah. Directions for articulation. So if you need to work through some of these, you can. I like that they repeatedly come back to it. Pronunciation, it's really important. It's really helpful for obviously other people knowing what you're saying, but for them to have an ear for that, to pick that out. It helps them with their spelling and stuff. Substitutes are characters used to represent sounds ordinarily represented by other characters. The following table indicates nearly every form of substitution used in the language. A few exceptional cases only are omitted. So A is sometimes used for eh, such as in any, right? This A has the ah sound, like in what. You've probably already been going over those by this point, but these are nice. It's just nice to have it. It's nice too as a review. Like all these blends. They go over some more like incorrect and correct pronunciation of common words, such as, it's not every, it's every, right? It's 3 syllables, not 2. It's not belief, it's belief. They have some sentences for practice. So sentences like the following may be read with great advantage for the purpose of acquiring distinctness and precision in articulation. This act, more than all other acts, laid the axe at the root of the evil. It is false to say he had no other faults. Okay, then now the accent mark. So accent marked thus, it shows it to you, is an increased force of voice upon some one syllable of a word, as colony, botany, remember, important, recollect, represent. In the words colony and botany, the first syllable is accented. In the words remember and important, the second syllable is accented. In the words recollect and represent, the third syllable is accented. So I actually really like that one because when we talk about our vowels and stuff in spelling, we talk about the schwa vowel, which only can be in an unaccented word or syllable. Like some whole words are not accented at all. Like the word like a, that's why we pronounce it I went on a walk. I don't say I went on a walk unless I'm actually like really accenting that word to like I was correct. Somebody was like, all your walks. And I would be like, I went on a walk, right? Then you would like put an accent on it. But in normal speech, we'd say, I went on a walk. That's a totally like unaccented word. And like the is unaccented. I went to the store. And again, unless you're purposefully emphasizing the word, and then you would say the, right? Usually. But also in multi-syllable words, when we talk about that schwa vowel, so any vowel could say like or it instead of its like normal sound. Like in, I just saw one, colony. We don't say colony, we say more like any, colony or colony. You say it kind of like or it. And that's because it's in an unaccented syllable. It's not overly pronounced. It's kind of glided over, and it's like some kind of general vowel sound to get to the next syllable. Okay, inflection talks about. So let's take a look at what a lesson looks like. Perseverance. I love that there's still visuals to go along with stuff. So this one, it just starts straight into the reading passage. And see how much longer they're getting? This one has, dialogue in it. And then it has, at the end, it has the defined words and exercises in this one. So this is new, the exercises. So the exercises would be, what is the subject of this lesson? Why was John discouraged in his attempts to fly his kite? What did his aunt say to him? What may we learn from this? What should be our motto if we expect to be successful? So I like how at this point, students should be already able to easily summarize a passage that they read. They've been practicing this for years at this point with the lower readers. Now they're like dissecting the reading, and it's really getting at, a lot of times like the authors they're kind of getting at point of view and like the moral of a story, the theme of a story, or narration or poem or whatever it is you're reading. So it is making them think deeper about the passage, and I love it. Okay, so, and it just keeps that the whole way through. Let's see, how many lessons are there? 90. So this could take a good amount of time, but also the kids are getting pretty good at reading at this point, right? It's building their vocabulary through those defined words, which again, I would read at the beginning. I like in certain lessons like this one, they give a little blurb sometimes about the author. So Louisa May Alcott, of course, you guys will know her from writing Little Women, but it gives like a little blurb about the author, which I think is really helpful. I remember like in high school, that was something that we would be like sometimes assigned a book or a poem or something, and part of our assignment was to research the author, and how does that inform, like how does that come out through in their writing? Do you see anything about, their biography that you can see reflected through their writing? This selection is from Little Men, which actually Everett just read. I thought it was cute. Okay, this is the book. This is how thick it is. All right, let's talk about let's get back to the plan. Let's look at our papers together. So we are going to do our typical student reads the lesson's defined words to the teacher. So they're going to read the words to you and their definitions. I like this to be done out loud, and so that you can correct any misreadings or mispronunciations still. And you guys can talk about the definitions. They give a really nice, succinct definitions, like particular, not ordinary, worthy of particular attention, chief, dominie, the Scotch name for schoolmaster, reflecting, thinking earnestly. So I like that they've already given a very simplified definition, or like oftentimes it's just like synonyms, but I like that. They're not overly long definitions. So have them read that to you and kind of talk about them, see if there's anything that was new, any new words to them. And then teacher or student pulls any trouble phonogram flashcards and adds to the review pile. So if they're still having any issues with reading any of the phonograms, or graphemes, same thing, that you saw in the defined words, just go ahead and pull them out, and then you can just review them as needed. Student reads passage, teacher reads to coach trouble sections. Student reads trouble sections, again, smoother. So we're just coaching them on I wouldn't say you have to read the whole thing back to them. They're getting pretty long at this point. Just if you notice that they had trouble with any section, like if their inflection was off. What I noticed with my oldest son is he would read too fast. He would try to be like speed reading, I think he thought that was a sign of good reading. And I was like, it's not how fast, it's how well. Like, we don't talk like that. Part of good reading is taking the proper pauses and stuff. You'll be paying attention to that with them. And then have the student summarize it to the teacher. I still do this the first time they read a passage. I have them still give me a summary, what happened, basically, beginning, middle, end kind of thing, and finish with a picture study. So if there was a picture with it, I like looking at it with them. It's just enjoyable. Okay, the companion notebook. I made a companion notebook for this book, and I'll show it to you. So this is actually, because this book is so long, there's so many of these to do, I just split it into 3. I made 3 little notebooks, lessons. This is lessons 1 through 33. I would do lessons like 1 through 30, but somehow I squeezed 33 in here. It looks like this. All right, so I gave a basic reading and writing schedule. So let's say we were starting on Monday. It was the first time that they had read their passage. I would say by the time that you're doing this book, you can really just do probably like 1 lesson a week. At this point, we were past, the kids could basically read everything. I wasn't having to have them master their reading. They're just learning new words at this point. It's not that they can't read them, they were just mostly coming across words they hadn't seen before. So I formatted this to be 1 lesson per week. So Monday, read the passage aloud to teacher and discuss it, including the text structure used. If you don't know what text structure is, just look up text structure. I will be doing a little follow-up series after I finish just going over the core language arts things. I'm going to have some things that I'll show you coming up, things I used that, every once in a while we would just pause our McGuffey and do a little unit on something. And I'll show you some of my favorite ones in depth here as soon as we're done with this series. So stay tuned. Okay, copy the defined words and their definitions. You saw that. Highlight any base words or affixes, note any spelling patterns, and have a teacher check. So that would be this day. Definitions, right? Lesson 1 is perseverance. If any of you are using the original McGuffey readers, which I do own, but we really only read the primer and the first reader, they aren't quite an exact match with the revised, for their numbering and stuff. If anybody are interested in me making something like this to go along with the original readers, because those are the ones you have and love, let me know in the comments. Just comment original readers and I'll know that you want me to work on some resources for those. So anyways, but for definitions, so that's what I would just do. They would read it that day, and then whatever definitions, just have them write the word and the definition on this page and have them date it. Okay, and then they're done for that day. And then back to, let's see, highlight any base words or affixes and note any spelling patterns. So again, we kind of touched on that in our spelling, but I would just, to help with understanding and comprehension, do that. Highlight the base word so that you can see the affixes sticking out on the end, and note just kind of make any mental notes about spelling patterns so they can make those in here. They're just kind of really studying those words. if they wanted to get a book, like a word origins book, or they have, I have an etymology app on my phone that we occasionally, if a word is really foreign to us, we were like, that's weird, or it doesn't seem to follow our English. Remember when we're studying the English spelling rules, like they're the English spelling rules, but we have a lot of Latin, and French origin, and even Old Norse influences in English. So when something is like weird and it is not matching up with your English spelling rules, then go to your some kind of etymology resource. I'll show you one. I'll show you a book. This one, Dictionary of Word Origins. I just bought this off of Amazon, but it's got like 8,000 common words in here that we use. And let's just say like the words, I was trying to find a weird one. This is an interesting word, scrofula. So see screw. That's okay. So then you go to screw, I guess. Or scruple. Latin from scrupus meant sharp stone, and the notion of something troubling the mind like a painful stone in the shoe led to its metaphorical use for anxiety, doubt, particularly over a moral issue. Both meanings were carried over into the diminutive form scrupulous, which also came to be used for a very small unit of weight. This passed into English via French scrupule as scruple on the way, losing the literal sense small stone. So it gives up, and I like to look these up. I think this is really interesting. If you have a kid who finds words and language really interesting, I highly recommend getting this book, Dictionary of Word Origins. I'll link it for you in the description box. It's like words have stories. Isn't that neat though? I love it. Okay, Tuesday, they're going to read the passage again and do the reading exercise response writing. So you saw those, we went through some of those exercises. Check for handwriting, grammar, and spelling, as well as the strength of the response. That's pretty straightforward. This is what the exercises page is. And I did leave a lot of space here because I wanted you to be able to like write notes, and make corrections and things in these spaces between their writing lines. Wednesday, they read the passage again. Then either write the original sentences using defined words, write their sentences from the passage by dictation, or copy them. So what I was talking about here is those defined words. There was 3 options there, right? They could use those defined words to write their own original sentences. 2, so you could have them just find where they are in the passage and then copy the sentences that had those words in them. Or you could do that, you could dictate it to them and see how well they can write it on their own. Thursday, write an original composition using the reading passage as a model or inspiration. This could be format or the subject matter, and then you are going to get check it, and they're going to get feedback and corrections from their teacher. So that is here in the compositions. I would have them do just 1 page if they can. I'm not trying to make it super long. I want this to be something they can do in a day, or you could have them do it on like scratch paper, because the next day I have 2 pages worth, but you could have them do their final draft in here because they're going to get corrections and feedback, and then they're going to do their rewrite. When it says either by like text structure or by the substance, let's say we did one, like these are like just the very first one. It tells you in the title what it's about. It's about perseverance. So that's the subject matter. So they could write their own composition on perseverance. They could think of a time in their life, where they had to persevere, or something they heard of. If they don't, they should have a good sense of what perseverance means now from having read this passage quite a few times, and they haven't really been thinking about it. Maybe you guys have talked about the passages together at some point during the week. They want to maybe write their own, and this is happens to be a narration form. It's just like a story, right? It's just a recounting, and it's written in the first person. It says, "Will you give my kite a lift?" said my little nephew to his sister, after trying in vain to make it fly by dragging it along the ground. And you may point out how much they've expanded this sentence, which is something they probably practiced in their stories and grammar resource. This one's on goodwill. They just have dare to do right. These readers are just full of good morals and truths. Like, I just love it. Like, this is what I want my kids pondering about. Higher morals and principles than just, let's talk about me. You know, I mean, it's okay to talk about it in the first person if you're sharing, but you know, it's not so much that they're the subject, it's that the moral is the subject, right? Anyways, I just love these. All right, so then they said they did their like rough draft. Like I said, they could either do it in here or they could do it on a piece of scratch paper, a piece of normal lined paper, and then you give them all of your notes on it. And I would highly recommend using, back to my language arts bookmarks, I have the paragraph writing and editing now because they're into writing paragraphs, and where'd it go? My editing marks. So teach them these editing marks because, sorry, it looks so bad because I was trying to do this on my computer and it just looked terrible. Because those are the marks that you're going to give them. This is another one where I would make it two-sided for them. You know, or just print it out and have them do this. So that they've got a bookmark they can keep in there. Or they can use it to bookmark where they are in the story, but then they can use it, you know, for their writing. This will help them. When they are writing, it's going to ask them when they're doing paragraph by paragraph, what is the subject of your paragraph? What is the main idea of your paragraph? Write a topic sentence about the main idea. Add details to your paragraph that support the main idea, such as examples or data. Write a conclusion sentence. Read your paragraph aloud. Does it make sense? How can you improve it? Proofread. Is the first word indented? Is it grammatically correct? Punctuation, spelling, capitalizations. Is there any unnecessary detail given? Take it out. Does it make the point you're trying to make? Rewrite with changes you see fit. And give to someone for feedback. And then, so this would be the feedback they get from me mostly, right? It's mostly grammar marks, but we may be making little extra notes to them too. And then they are going to, so they've done their composition where they've used their passage as the model text, either in subject matter or in the text structure, right? Like, is it a narration? Is it a poem? Is it a call to action? Is it for entertainment? Like, there's different things, you know, types of text structure. Edit and revise your composition based on feedback and editing marks. So then the next day, they would put in their final composition, and then they'd submit it to you for grading. So I have provided a writing rubric. I tried to make it, I was trying to find one that was really generic, that you could kind of apply to anything. I will say, so we go over, you're going to grade, if you haven't used a rubric before, this will make grading so much easier and allow you to give a final score on that writing. And it's also something that you can compare over time to see it's giving you some data to see if their writing is getting better. So you are going to be grading on convention, sentence fluency, organization, style and voice, content and ideas, and the writing process. And you're going to give them a 1 to 4 grade on each section. And I'm just giving you a key here. So 1 means needs improvement. So maybe they needed much guidance on their writing. 2 is fair, needed some guidance. 3 is good, needed very little guidance. And 4 is excellent. They are like an independent writer. So convention, that means is their title, is their spelling correct? How is their handwriting and spacing? And how is their punctuation and grammar, right? Just like the mechanics and the basics. Sentence fluency, varying sentence length, few choppy or run-on sentences. Sentences are complete and convey a complete thought, so no fragments. Organization, there's a beginning, middle, and end. Student uses transition words. Student uses an opening and a closing sentence. Style and voice. Student uses more precise and interesting words. A student's personality can be heard. No robot writing. Like, that's why I always told my kids, like, don't sound like a robot. Like, John went to the store. John bought groceries. John put groceries away. You know, we don't want any robot writing. It's all choppy and just like the facts. We want description. We want figurative language if they are working on that. Like paint me a picture, convey feelings, thoughts, emotions, right? Okay, and then the writing process. So there's pre-writing. So you may have seen them. I consider the exercises kind of like the pre-writing because they're like dissecting that text structure. So that's what I consider it. And then drafting, that would be, but pre-writing is often, they mean like brainstorming. So pre-writing means like brainstorming, and they can even like doodle and stuff, because sometimes I tell the kids, go ahead and like draw like what you see in your mind when you think about this, and then start basing your writing around that. Then try to put it into words, what you saw with your mind, or they can make lists. Maybe they're writing, like if they want to talk about multiple things, they're making a list of their main points, stuff like that. So that's like the pre-writing. And then the revising and editing, so that was getting the feedback from you. And then the rewriting, that's what they turned in, their final composition for grading. Publishing, there's no publishing here. So you can either choose to do this or not, but publishing would be if you had them go a step farther and like type it up or put it into some other kind of form, like a little mini book or a brochure, or I don't know, if you did something else where you took it and glammed it up a bit, then that could be publishing, but that's optional. That's like not something that I required in this because I'm just working on the writing. Okay, and then so they will get some kind of total out of 24. And I would tell them, like, this isn't grading, like this isn't bad. This is just to give you an idea, you and them. And it'll also, because you'll see by their individual sections what they were graded, you will see what they need improvement on. So this is really just a tool. It's not a reflection of how smart they are or how good a writer they are, because they're just in the learning stages. This is just a tool to see what we might need to focus in on. In the beginning, expect everything to score low, right? Probably everything's going to be like ones and twos. Let's say you see that they really need help on sentence fluency, organization, style and voice, maybe the content ideas is okay. Let's say there was like all of this, they got their conventions pretty much down, but everything else was like really poor. Like, you're just going to tell them, don't worry about it. We're just going to really focus on your sentence fluency in the next composition. You may want to look up resources on that, or do a little research or look back into the text and give examples of like a really good, how they'll have varying sentence lengths and how things are not choppy, nor are they run-on sentences. Just kind of point out what those are. If you see them, see how they don't do that here, right? Or how would you correct that? How would you make it less choppy? How could you break up this run-on sentence into 2 or 3 sentences? So I would just focus on one skill at a time. Just say, that's what I'm really looking for in the next one, in your next composition, so that they're not like overwhelmed. You're just like, oh, you need to work on all of this stuff, Just focus on one skill at a time, more purposefully, and just build up. And once they've like really got that down, then we're going to focus more on organization, right? And then when that's down, we're going to focus more intently on style and voice. I still have them doing like all the parts, right? Just have them do their writing and just really focus in on that. So I think I've showed this before, but it's been like years. And I will try to find it. I bought this off of TPT. And it's called My Writing Reference Helper. And I just printed it out on cardstock. And look, so if they were writing a narrative, an expository or informational writing, opinion and persuasive piece, writing tips, descriptive writing, and writing process and voices. Look at this. Brainstorm, pre-write. Think about different topics and ideas. Choose one topic or idea. What facts, details do you know? Think about your audience. Organize your thoughts and ideas. right? There's just so many like ideas. My writing is clear and focused. I grab my reader's attention. I explained my thoughts. I included details and examples. I showed my actions and feelings. I made sure to stay on topic. So I just think these are so full of such great things. So you could even assign them. This might make things a little bit easier, but you might want to assign them to write a narrative this week, right? Or write an expository this next week, or let them pick it out. But these work so well. It's like just use them as like a bookmark, right? And just keep them in their book and just pull them out. You need them, or you could even, this is I think a smaller set. You could also print these out larger and bind them, you know, in the back or something with it. But anyways, I highly recommend this resource. I love it. I think it was pretty cheap. I can't remember. It's been so long ago that I bought it. But yeah, I will include that in there. This is great to put with any writer's notebook. And so what else comes in this book is, so that's basically the writing, but I also gave you just some like information that I thought was kind of helpful to have at this stage. So reading comprehension. Consider the following while reading and discussing your lesson passages to improve your reading comprehension. You know, compare and contrast, main ideas, supporting details and summaries, sequencing, author's purpose, drawing conclusions and making inferences, context clues, cause and effect, fact versus opinion, and prediction. I just gave a little introduction to those for you and your student, and then figurative language, so simile, metaphor, hyperbole, personification. I never can say, I don't know how to say these words. This one, onomatopoeia. I can't say it. Right? A language that names something or an action by imitating the sound associated with it. They add some reality to the writing. Examples include the fire hissed and cracked. So hissed sounds like hissing. Cracked sounds like cracking. You know what I'm talking about? The truck roared as it climbed the hill. The alarm clock buzzed as it did every morning. So I think that's just kind of fun. It does make the writing so much more impactful to the reader. All right. And then composition. I just write opinion pieces that express a point of view. I write informative, explanatory pieces represent information on a topic. Write narrative pieces that use specific details, descriptions, and dialogue to convey a real or fictitious event. Write poems. Plan, revise, and edit. Think about the best way to approach your writing and try different ways to do so, such as writing in a different tense or from a different perspective. Some perspectives are better than others for a certain, writing. The writing process, I go over how to implement the writing process, pre-writing, drafting, revising and editing, and rewriting. These are links in the document to websites that might be helpful for that. They have, what do they call those things? Visual organizers, that's the word I was trying to think of. They have like visual organizers and stuff here. Okay, drafting, revising and editing, rewriting. I didn't put in the publishing part because I don't really make my kids do that, but then the rubrics, talk about that, and then it starts. So that is the 4th Reader Revised Edition Reading and Writing Companion Notebook, if they're ready for that. I wanted to show you another, it's actually not on here, but it's something that we've used a lot, is writing fabulous sentences and paragraphs. This is super cheap and it has so much good information in it about writing fabulous sentences and paragraphs. So if you start doing this and you're like, their writing just isn't strong enough, like you feel like they need more scaffolding, this will give them that. But I honestly don't think that it's not enough practice, but it gives really good information. So I made this weekly paragraphs notebook used with writing fabulous sentences and paragraphs. And how we use this is, you could use it 2 ways. You could go through this, right? And so my oldest son filled it out. You could just go through that and then go back through this, using this now kind of as a reference. and you can see how much better you compare the two got. Or you can do the lessons in here, but just kind of expand them out here for a weekly paragraph. So a weekly paragraph, day 1, let's say you're writing. So you can see what the writing concept they're focusing on is complete sentences, not sentence fragments. Right? So that's gonna take subjects. You're gonna make sure that there's subjects and predicate in each sentence. And then they've got the types of sentences. Right, so if you just want to focus in on complete sentences, right, so you might do a couple of these pages. So this is just literally on writing complete sentences correctly. Then put that in, example and practice work. So you might want to copy some of the stuff into here, right? Or if this is already filled out, because you've had like another student use it or something, just have them do their examples and practice work here. Because I personally, we're reusing it with, so I'm not buying a new one. We're just reusing it and using it kind of as a textbook. And then, so you can do that, and then day 2, you're going to put in the writing prompt. So because not all of these have writing prompts, I just gave a bunch of random writing prompts. Like, so those are the concepts, right? And then like you could just pick one, like cleaning my classroom or something, right? That'll be the writing prompt. Cleaning my classroom. And then they're gonna go through the brainstorming. And they can do doodles here. Let's say then, so they're gonna brainstorm, then they're going to, day 3, reread your brainstorm. Day 2, writing. Do you have any more ideas or thoughts? Because like now it's been like sitting in their back of their head for like 24 hours, right? Sometimes you get like have better ideas. Add them. Any not fit with the others, cross them off. Those are, we call those extraneous details. The main idea is going to be the point of the paragraph or the big idea. So write down the main idea. What is that going to be? The topic sentence is often the first or second sentence of the paragraph, and it tells the main idea. So have them work on writing a topic sentence. Day 4, they're going to rewrite their topic sentence. Again, it's been sitting there for 24 hours. And they may even have some refinements they want to make, but have them rewrite it here in their best handwriting, nice and clear, get their brain going. Review your brainstorm, right? Go back to your brainstorm page, here and here. Supporting details are sentences that give additional information about the paragraph's main idea. So are there any supporting details that they can think of that they want to list out? Identify 3 supporting details and explain them fully. So have them work on that here. We were talking about, cleaning your classroom. Maybe that you're saying, why is it important? Maybe they're saying, what's the fastest way to do it? What is the best way? What is the best order in which to do items, to clean the classroom or whatever. So have them do their details. Day 5, they're going to write their topic sentence here. Their body, this is all going to be one paragraph, right? And then they're going to work on their body. I'm reminding them that you have to indent your paragraph. Supporting details, right? You're going to put that into a more cohesive paragraph now. And you're going to come up with a closing sentence, right? That usually kind of summarizes. It references back to the topic sentence, right? But it's not exactly the same. Okay, then weekly paragraph, day 6, write your final draft. They're going to write their final draft here. And then it starts, you go into the next one, right? And this you could use this with anything. It doesn't have to be with this. I just really like the information in here, and it's really affordable. And I love all the writing concepts it goes into, right? Personification, using alliteration, putting it all together. There's just historical perspective. Here's more of those graphic organizers it comes with. So you can see examples of that. And this one also has some, there's more examples in there to look at too. They have different types of writing, like they do. Yeah, note-taking and different stuff. Writing about an animal, writing about an event, So these are good things to refer to. A plan for taking care of the earth. And so this is an outline. An outline organizes information, which is basically what you're doing here in day 4. But anyways, it has more to reference, so I like that. Okay. And I do give some, so you could do, if you wanted to do this as a full 39-week thing, you could go just through the book first and putting, your work into here, and then go back over all the concepts again. And here's a fresh writing prompt for them to use. Or you could do that at the same time. It's up to you. I think you could use it either way. And you could use any other different writing prompt that they wanted. These are just ones I used with my kids, so that's why I put them in there. So that's just another option for writing if you feel like they need more help at the paragraph level before they're basically moving on to, beginner essays here. This is probably a 3-paragraph, essay is what they're going to end up with in here. All right, so let's talk about grammar. So I say gentle grammar or Harvey's grammar. So gentle grammar comes in 4 books. And I have level 4 right here to show you. So they may not need, by this point, they've been practicing grammar, they may not need, levels 1 and 2 or something. But you might want to do 3 or 4 this year with them. And she has these are very affordable, the pre-printed version on Amazon. I want to say it was $10 or something. But you also get it for free. And I put that link to Gentle Grammar for free is in here for her PDF. So you may just want to go at least to the free site first and look and see what's in there in the different levels 1 through 4. So you could do these either in my level 4 along with the other stuff, or in level 5. I don't know, just wherever. I think that I'm trying to think. I mean, Sherry who created this, she said, I'm trying to remember when she said you can delay formal grammar for a long time, in her opinion. So, and these have some good little stories for reproduction. Read the story and reproduce it in your own words. Write a description of this picture using the words and phrases provided. So they start getting into some writing. It says use the above list to write a paragraph, which I think is nice. But again, this is what I like gentle grammar, but it's one of the things that it doesn't really give the instruction on how to write a paragraph. You know what I mean? It's the exercises, but not the teaching. That's it. That's why I always find myself trying to do something else, but I still like it. And the other thing, Harvey's elementary grammar and composition. And this is the key. I like that it has a key, so I don't have to try to figure it out. And this is just something you can have them do. Have them get a notebook and have them just do a lesson, just one section. And I would just have them just write it in their notebook and read it with you and write it in their notebook. And this could be done pretty independently. And then when they're done, just have them handed in to you so that you can correct it. But I like that they're pretty short, and I just feel it's just little bite sizes. Abbreviations, contractions, elements of a sentence, the predicate, elements, composition, the oral lesson. And a lot of it is review, but I think that's fine because it's moving them into doing things more independently versus doing them with you. I don't like to both start a new format and new information at the exact same time because they're already learning the new format and a new way of doing something. And so I want them just to get comfortable with that, this is how we're going to do it now, and be going over maybe some review stuff in the beginning of the book, and then, as they get used to their new rhythm and their new way of doing grammar assignments, it starts introducing more information. You can also use this, as a reference book as you're doing their companion notebook. Yeah, there's not always going to be somebody in their life to explain things to them, and so they're going to need that skill of being able to process information themselves and put it into action. And so I like this step of giving them a book and a notebook and say, just do your grammar. Just do one part, one lesson, and then give it to me to correct. Again, you may want to put time limits on that, like 20 minutes, 30 minutes, maybe at the very longest. If they get through a section faster than that, then that's fine. They can go on to the next thing. Just so it doesn't eat up a bunch of time. Okay, spelling workbook or vocabulary packet. So they may be either doing their spelling, McGuffey spelling with the McGuffey spelling book, level 6, and it's basically the same thing. We've added in changing word tense or part of speech by changing or adding a suffix. We're just playing a little bit more with the words. So when I made my spelling lists, there's a lot of words. So I would either break this up into more than one list, or I would sometimes just pick words that I thought were grade appropriate. But if you felt like they were too easy, you can just go further on in the book. And I wanted the words to be simple because I wanted them just to focus on learning the pattern. Because you'll see the most common patterns over and over. You mostly it just goes into morphology, right? Where the base word is basically being added on to with affixes and stuff. So I just wanted to really make sure that they got the base pattern, because they can apply those patterns to more expanded words. So the point was to learn our spelling rules or our spelling patterns, not necessarily to have the most impressive words on our spelling tests, if that makes sense. I wanted to show you too, though, that in the McGuffey spelling book, there is a section on affixes. Back here on page 85, it's starting at lesson 136. See, plurals formed by adding s to a singular, es, ones that have es, f's and f's changing into ves for plurals, y's, the ings, just for when you get to, if you were doing this level, adding suffixes to the words. And you may want to flip to the affixes section and take a look at that and have them study some of those. And what suffix do you want to add? Maybe they can get some ideas here. You can keep going in the book, right? So if you think the words are too easy, you can still use the same activities. You actually can use these books with any word list you want. You don't have to use my McGuffey's list. If there's a word list you prefer, just use that and do all the same things in the book. But you can just keep going through here. I thought after about the 6th level, they've had a lot of practice with these word families, things with related patterns and stuff. And you can just start going through them. Just start giving them an oral test. Whatever ones they miss, just write that down. And then as soon as they get to 10 missed words, that's your new word list. And then they can figure out why did they not know how to spell it. And then I think after 6 levels of doing things in groups of similar, that have the same patterns in them and stuff, that they should have a good base, right, of the rules, the most common rules. And so now if you want to have a more varied list, that's totally fine. Also, if you wanted to use the words from your McGuffey reader, those say you're in the 4th reader or something, then if you wanted to use, or even the 5th or even the 3rd reader, those defined words as your spelling words, you can do that too. They're just not going to have a common grouping. They're not going to have a common pattern over and over because they are a diverse, little motley collection of words. But it depends on how you want to study spelling. If you want to keep going in the family groups and have them do that, you can just keep going in the groups that McGuffey's already given them. If you want a more varied group of words, just do the test method like I just talked about, or use your words from your reader. And because it doesn't matter, you're still going to be searching out these rules. You're going to be looking what rules in here. I'll link a video. I did a video on where to find spelling lists before, and I'll link that in the description box too, because that might give you some more ideas for varied. If you like these activities and you want to try different spelling lists, there's lots of places to find good lists. Let's say you got through all your spelling and you want to start focusing more on a vocabulary more specifically. I mean, spelling, I use it like our vocabulary program through those levels. Plus, they're learning all these words just through their readers, right? But then I think it's really valuable to learn our prefixes, suffixes, and root words. You know, our Latin-based ones, because they're just so prevalent. There's actually 2 books 1 and 2, and we use both of them. But I'm just going to show you book 1. This is Red Hot Root Words, book 1. Here's the lesson. There's some of the lessons. So the first lesson 1 is just introducing the prefix sub, which means below or under, and it has a bunch of words here listed. They kind of move into, eventually they start giving you maybe 2 or 3 affixes if they mean the same thing. So like dec, deci, deca means 10, cent means hundreds, and mil means thousands. So these would be words you'd often see like in math together, right? And so they just kind of teach them all at once. And like lesson 8, ant, anti, contra, and counter, those all mean against. So they're using the vocabulary words here that have prefixes that mean against. So they're related. I liked the practice they had in here. But again, it was just one of those things where I didn't feel that I just didn't feel like it was enough. I didn't feel like this wasn't quite enough for my kid to like really commit it to long-term memory. So I created a vocabulary exercise packet for this book specifically. I call it Latin Roots 1. So their name, their date, the subject would be, vocabulary or reading or whatever. The vocab list, so I would put, sub, I'd be like, it's lesson 1 and it's sub, which means below or under. And then I put the quiz grade at the end. I've got instructions. So I would go through this book, seemed to be like 1 week for each list, seemed to work really well. So I've got instructions there. So this I made with this, and this is good just to have in your homeschool, the affix or root word and all the meanings that this book covers that I keep with the packet. And we just keep this because you can use this as you can use this, in the future. So I've just got, so again, I like to color code things. So yellow is day 1. Green is day 2. It says write vocabulary sentences provided. So these come with sentences in the book. I like to have them write them out. Draw word pictures and label. You could do that all on the same day, or you could do them separately, but I like to have those word pictures. Dissect the words and make flashcards. So it says look up meanings, page 101 to 115. So again, you have those meanings in here in sample words. If they didn't have their little cheat sheet that I made. Write antonyms and synonyms. Oh, and this is also dissecting words. That's another good day to have some kind of etymology book or that dictionary of word origins that I showed you before. I have an app. I can't remember what it's called, but it's an etymology app, but it gives us the roots of where the word came from and how it went from like Latin to Old English to, Middle English, like to modern English. Like it gives the steps and it's really interesting. But yeah, you can break it out into what the different parts of the word mean, or you can give like a history of it. Antonyms and synonyms. Try to write vocabulary sentence of your own. So I'm hoping by this point they have a pretty good grasp on the meaning of the word and they can put it into their own sentence. And of course a vocabulary test that we give them. Anyway, so this worked really, really well for, I think, when did Everett do this? Fifth grade, I think? I think we started it like halfway through the year or something. So it went from like 5th into 6th, and then he went to the second book, which doubles the amount of words. Instead of having like 5 words a list, and it had like 10. But anyways, it's nice to have something to, it'll help their reading comprehension so much and build their vocabulary. Okay, So that's basically everything, all the things we're going to use, and then we just are going through the reading your phonics card, ask student what the passage is about, point out a piece of grammar. So yeah, you may still be pointing out grammar and discussing that as new stuff comes up. Review the phonics cards, or you could just, let's say you made those grammar flashcards from the reader, what was listed in the front. You could just pull one out and just ask them to find one in their reading for that day, or all of them, or whatever. So again, the next day you're going to have them talk about the characters, ask where and when the passage takes place. The next day, talk about setting, point of view of the narrator. And then I always like to flip the script and have the student be the teacher on the last day. So we're just like reading these over and over and just getting all that we can out of them. If you wanted to do, you could just have them do the companion notebook and do it independently. If you don't have, by this stage, you don't have the time to sit with them and have this deep, if you don't have the time to sit with them and discuss it each day because you've got other kids, and you're like, okay, I think you're good enough. You can just have them do the companion notebook, and that's totally fine too. It just kind of depends on your personal situation, how many kids you have at home with you, what are their ages, all that stuff. So we have discussed a reader, spelling book, and a dictionary of word origins. Those are good to have on hand. Resources that you can use for writing, if you want to do the companion notebook, the writing reference helper, writing fabulous sentences and paragraphs, and a weekly paragraph notebook, a good grammar program that's leading them to more independent work, spelling, and vocabulary. I know it looks like a lot, but they're not going to be doing all these things at one time, right? These are just like, you'd be doing one or the other of these, right? They're doing this on their own. This doesn't take up very much room. They're doing one or the other of these, right? And this, I just use repeatedly. So this is going to be covering like all your grades. Okay, I hope that was helpful. If you have any questions, or if you would like to see me do some resources for the original McGuffey readers, comment down below. Check the description box for links to things I showed today, and I will talk to you soon.